Wow. What a crazy game between the Knicks and Grizzlies. Knicks were down double digits in the fourth quarter. They rally, get a late 3 to tie it. Oh, the NBA is here. Sign me up. I am ready to go. And then the Knicks get a offensive foul call to go for them on a Ja Morant drive to the basket where he tried to posterize a Knicks player to end the game. Kid stood his ground, just took the charge, and that's it. We're going to overtime in Memphis on opening night for the Knicks and the Grizzlies. A lot of basketball going on. We will give you all the information you need on the betting side of it as we go through the evening. Almost everybody is playing except the teams that weren't playing last night. So we'll keep tabs on all of that. We're also obviously watching the wild card. What am I saying? The American League Championship Series between the Yankees and the Astros going on right now. And look, I mean, you knew that the Yankees were going to be in an unenviable position in Game 1 going up against Verlander and having to throw Jameson Taillon. And the reality is through 5 innings, they basically played the Astros to a draw, but then Yankees bullpen gets in trouble. And it just goes to illustrate why you cannot throw starting pitchers for 5 innings. Taillon had thrown, I think, something like 70-something pitches when he got pulled from the game in the 5th. And Clark Schmidt got out of a jam in that 5th inning, a jam mostly of his own doing, but he got out of the jam. And then you're asking your bullpen to get, 12 outs for you. And I'm sorry, in the postseason against good teams, it doesn't work. This is why the Dodgers are home watching the NLCS right now. But I digress. We'll start the program with some NFL. Russell Baxter will join us later in the hour, too. We're just getting going. Wednesday edition of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Stay right here. Wow. Going old school. "12 minutes past the hour." SportsMap Radio. Thanks for listening on the SportsMap Radio app as well. And don't forget, you can watch us on the Decibel 88 channel on Facebook, on YouTube, also on Twitch, Jason Page 77, and also on Twitter at The Back Page if you're looking for us at any point on those platforms. So lots of ways to be a part of the show, interact with the show, chat with us on the show as we move through the program tonight. 1-800-224-2004 is the phone number, 800-224-2004. I mentioned the Twitter at The Back Page. You look over my left shoulder. The game of choice tonight, of course, it's the Yankees and Astros. I was also watching a little bit of the Knicks and Grizzlies before we got going. They are through the top of the 7th inning. I think that was the top of the 7th inning. With the Astros leading the Yankees 3-1. And, look, you knew this was going to be a tough matchup if you were the Yankees, and it's turned out to be just that. You're asking way too much of your bullpen in this first game to try and get basically 4.5 innings out of them. Look, it's going to be a tough slog for the Yankees. When you go 5 against the Guardians, you're coming into this series at a disadvantage with no off days in between the end of your series and the start of the American League Championship Series. But as Aaron Boone said, you just got to buck up. And we'll see what happens in Game 2. They say a playoff series doesn't start until one of the home teams loses. So we'll wait and see what happens in this series. As I said, Russell Baxter, ProFootballGuru.com. He will join us coming up in about 25 minutes, get some thoughts with him, go around the NFL. I want to start the show because Tua Tagovailoa spoke today, and it was the first time we really got to hear from him since the concussion a few weeks back that not only rocked him, but obviously rocked the entire football world. And some things he said struck me. And look, I get a lot of football fans just don't care. Hey, he's back on the field. He gives my team a chance to win. He gives my fantasy team a chance to win. I'll be able to bet on the Dolphins again because I sure as hell couldn't for the last 3 weeks with some of the guys they were starting at quarterback. I get that there is a certain segment of the fan population that just doesn't care about player health or safety. You say you do, but you really don't. All that you care about is, like Shaq says, are you not entertained? No, that's essentially what most fans are worried about. And that's as much as I'm going to say about that. But Tua spoke today, and some things he said got my attention. And I think fans need to hear this before they just think of players as pieces of meat thrown into a cage to be chewed up and spit out every week. This was Tua talking about what transpired for him on that night where we watched his hands curl up and him essentially get knocked out on the football field.
There was a point where I was unconscious, so I couldn't really tell what was going on. So when I did come to and kind of realize what was going on, what was happening, I didn't think of anything, long term or short term. I was just wondering what happened.
And then in terms of what else he remembers from that night,
I remember the entire night up to the point where I got tackled. But yeah, after I got tackled, I don't remember much from there. Getting carted off, I don't remember that. But I do remember, things that were going on when I was in the ambulance and then when I arrived at the hospital.
NFL players are just built differently as human beings. I mean, that's the one thing I come away with when I watched him in this press conference today. that just a few weeks removed, 4 weeks removed, whatever it is, from this horrific incident that took place on a football field in Cleveland, or Cincinnati, was it? Sorry, Cincinnati. That this guy could just get up there and talk so casually, I don't want to say nonchalantly, but casually about an event that would terrify most people. The idea of losing a chunk of time and space, blacking out from the concussion, this brain injury that was so severe, it basically wiped out a period of his life, whether it be a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I mean, you've got to be built differently as a football player to be able to endure that and then just simply move on as if nothing has happened. Move on and just get ready for the next game, the next snap, the next play, trying to revive the Dolphins season at 3-3. But there is so much at stake for the NFL come this Sunday with Tua Tagovailoa getting back out on the football field. And I said this last night on the show, but listening to him today really drove the point home about how important it is that the league get this right. How important it is that the team get this right. And as much as I feel bad for players, and my anger was out there as far as the way the team and the league has sort of handled this concussion issue. And look, I've said this again. You had a neurologist get fired. You had a team neurologist get fired, or not a team neurologist, I should say, the independent neurologist that the Players Association and the league has sort of, said, this is our guy. You've had that person fired. You've had some subtle rule changes in terms of concussions, in terms of guys could be pulled off the field if, you see certain physical, visual characteristics that are going on the field, whether they're concussed or not. If you see these certain things, these abnormalities in how they walk or something like that, if they stumble, you can pull them off the field. Aside from that, this story has gone dark. Nothing is going on as it relates to this story, which is exactly what we said would happen 4 weeks ago. There's the initial outrage. There's the reaction to that outrage, where the league, makes some cursory moves. And then all of a sudden, we're not talking about it anymore. That's it. We, much like Tua, are on to the next play, on to the next snap, on to the next game. It's just astonishing that nothing changes. And again, there's no league like it that can just simply bounce off the wall, almost like a pinball. Hits those rubber bands and it just bounces back. Nothing in sports is like this except the NFL. And if I sound like I'm bitter or jaded or upset about it, it's because I am. Because I think the way this is going to get into a whole different area, but just for a moment, I'll go there. It gets into an entirely bigger argument about who we are as a society. And I know I go moral high ground and people get altitude sickness. I get it. But I'm sorry, the lack of care that we give on these types of things is emblematic of who we are as a society. It's simple as that. We just don't care. Unless it's your son or your brother or your cousin. Maybe even if it's your teammate. It's the same way we treat DUI in this country. Well, if a drunk driver doesn't kill my kid, I'm not thinking about it all that much. Same way we treat guns in this society. Well, if I don't get shot by one, all the power to you. It's how we treat things in this country. If it doesn't impact me, I don't care. And the only thing that impacts people on the Tua story and this concussion issue is, how did it impact my fantasy team? How did it impact my betting for this weekend? Whatever. Again, not trying to go all crazy moral high ground here, but that's the reality of the situation. Let me finish with it on a football side. Something that Tua said near the back end of the press conference. Listen.
I just got to be myself. I'm not the savior of this team. I don't just come in and, we start winning games. It's a team, it's a team deal. The defense gets us stops. The offense goes and puts points on the board. And the defense can help put points on the board as well as special teams. So for me, I just look at it as coming into this week, just be myself. Don't try to force anything. Don't try to make, plays that aren't there be there. Just give our playmakers the ball and let them go to work.
All right, let me talk about this for now from the on-the-field perspective. There couldn't be anything further from the truth than what he said. He is the savior. When he left the field, they were 3-0. When he comes back, they're 3-3. His QBR was something like 84 over the first 3 games. The QBR over the last 3 games has been half of that. Make no mistake about it. Tua Tagovailoa, as far as the Dolphins are concerned, as far as their fans are concerned, he is the savior of this team. Did I sound like Maury Povich there? You are the father. You are the savior of this team. If the Dolphins are going to get it turned around, it's going to start with Tua. Plain and simple. If you watched the way he performed over the first 3 weeks and watch how this team played over the last 3 weeks, you could figure it out real fast. As for Miami this week, home for the Steelers, and before you poo-poo the Steelers, they just basically pistol whipped the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and had all of us laughing. And sportsbooks probably laughing as well as they collected a lot of money, because I'm sure a lot of the money was on Tampa Bay. Got a thought? 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can tweet at us at the back page. Let me know what you think on Twitter at the back page. We'll update you on the Yankees and the Astros. Tell you what happened in that Knicks-Grizzlies game, too, as we continue hour number 1 of the Cash In at SportsMap Radio. How'd the Astros get the 4th run? God help me. I got so many Pena. I got so many of his first cards. Oh, yeah. I got no. I'm saying I got the ones like 3 years ago, 2 years ago when he was first a minor leaguer. There's these cards called Bowman First. And I've got so many of them. Well, I knew he was... I look at prospect lists all the time, and he was listed. From the day they got him, he was listed as a top prospect. Yeah. Why? Oh, really? Call tech support. Let me know how that works out for you. Oh, great. Really? I only had to deal with him a little bit. It's an imposition. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like he's doing you a favor. Well, it doesn't look good for the Yankees in Game 1 in Houston. If I sound like I'm partial, it's because I am. Although, if you're looking for value right now, the Yankees are plus 3,400 on the money line on the live betting. Meaning if you wager $100 on them right now and they win the game, you win $3,400. Of course, if you make that bet, you're likely just going to lose $100. We weren't very good on the live betting on the Laker game last night. Although we said the over was the bet, and that worked out. But the live betting, we didn't do very well. Yankees trail the Astros 4-1, one out in the top of the eighth with Aaron Judge at the plate. And this is when you want Aaron Judge at the plate if you're the Astros. One out, nobody on base, and a home run does very little in a 4-1 game. But the good news is it's a 7-game series. It's going to be a long series, I think. I've thought it would probably go 7, and I still feel that way. But Astros getting home runs in this game. Gurriel, Pena. Who hit the other one, John? John Belmer's producing the show in Houston tonight for us. Who hit the other home run? That's right, Chas McCormick. God. And Martin Maldonado knocked in a run with a double. Guy hit like 150 during the regular season. You let him beat you. Ugh, God. So we'll see what happens in Game 2 tomorrow between the Yankees and the Astros. By the way, Padres rebounded with a win in Game 2 of the NLCS today. Behind Blake Snell, they were able to win 8-5. They come from behind a big 5-run inning in that game when they were down 5-2 or 4-2, I believe. And they picked up a big 5-run inning. Manny Machado hit a home run in this game. And the Padres, look, they needed that because they looked like a team that had already won the World Series in Game 1 after beating the Dodgers in 4 games on Friday night. And I still wonder just, if that team could get refocused, recentered, so to speak, as they go back to Philadelphia, because the Phillies did exactly what they needed to do. Philadelphia needed to get one in San Diego, and they did. Now they'll go back to a raucous Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia for games 3 and 4. So we'll see what happens in that series, but very interesting to watch the dynamics of all of these series because they are vastly different. I mean, I don't think anybody in their wildest dreams when this postseason started had an NLCS with the Padres and the Phillies. By the way, Aaron Judge strikes out for the 7,000th time in this postseason. Nice job, Judge. That's how you get $40 million a year, baby. But that's what Yankee fans do. I get it, but Yankee fans boo everybody. Yankee fans boo Derek Jeter. That's what Yankee fans do. If you suck on the biggest stage and you are a star and you play for the New York Yankees, you're going to get booed. It's just the way it is. And you know what? Most players are strong enough to accept it and understand it. That's just the reality. The expectations are high, but when you perform at a high level, they're also the greatest fans in the world for you. Look, I have a mentality when it comes to the whole booing thing. I'm glad you brought this up, Belmer. I have a mentality when it comes to this. If I went to a Broadway show and, the lead character in Man of La Mancha or something, I don't know why I chose that show, but if the lead in whatever Broadway show I was singing was constantly out of key, wrong key, out of tune, couldn't remember their lines, I'd boo them too. I'd probably get thrown out because it's a Broadway show, but I'm not going to cheer for it. I mean, this is entertaining. Look, for people to spend what they spend to go to sporting events these days, I think you have every right to boo, whether it's your team, whether it's the other team, as long as you're not saying anything that's, that crosses the line, racist, bigoted, whatever. You want to boo and shout these guys down when they suck on the field? Go ahead. You paid for the seat. You got the right to boo. You got the right to chant, who's your daddy or whatever. You have every right to do it. He had a great season. Guess what? He's having a terrible postseason. And I get the fact that the Yankees wouldn't be where they are if it wasn't for Aaron Judge. But he has got to do better than he has over the first, now 6 games of this postseason. That's just the reality of it. Oh, he's been awful. I think it's the smaller markets. And let's be honest about it. Houston's a small market compared to the Yankees and, L.A., the New Yorks and L.A.s of the world and the Chicagos of the world. Houston's, a relatively small market. And fans in those places are far more supportive. Now, there's a reason some guys can't play and make it in New York. Some guys simply can't make it in New York because they can't handle that sort of constant scrutiny. I mean, Joey Gallo was terrified of playing in New York by the time he left. Oh, Anthony Rizzo just hit a home run. It's good for my Jock MKT team. I do have some stock in Anthony Rizzo tonight, so I'll take that. So Rizzo hits a home run for the Yankees. Now it's 4-2. And if you had the live betting at 5.5, you just got squashed. But it's an interesting point, Belmer. Like I said, there are definitely certain markets where you can struggle. And I'll tell you the other reason, by the way, they're not going to boo Altuve. They won the series in 3 games. That's the other thing. Altuve's been a part of this franchise, from the start of his career, basically. They've won a World Series. He's been an MVP. He did win an MVP, right? Yeah, he won an MVP. So, I mean, you take all of that into consideration, and then you take the fact that they swept the Mariners. They're not going to boo him if he struggles and they're winning. Who cares? And the back of his baseball card tells you he's going to pick it up at some point. He finished the season on a tear over the last week or so. I think the bye and the time off and they played 3 games basically in 14 days. These guys are creatures of habit. You suddenly take them and say you're playing 3 games in 14 days. You can get in a cage, do simulated at bats all you want. And I know he did some simulated stuff. It's just not the same. Nothing matches the intensity that comes with this time of year in baseball. All right, so the Yankees trail the Astros 4-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning. We'll keep tabs on that. We'll talk football with Russell Baxter, ProFootballGuru.com. He's one of the NFL's longest-running reporters. That's next on The Cash-In at SportsMap Radio. Good job, Elmer. I'm gonna do. I'll handle everything on this end because this is a pre-tape. Okay, so I got it on this end. And we do continue on this Wednesday edition of the show. Of course, you can always be a part of the program. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at the show as well. At the back page. Again, hit me up on Twitter. At the back page. We'll get back to what's going on in all these NBA games and the baseball as well. But first, we say hello to our good friend Russell Baxter. Talk some football with him at B. By the way, this home plate umpire has been as bad as you can be tonight. I mean, my God, the strike zone is everywhere. This guy's been terrible. Yes, I'm already there. It's another pitch that's a ball. My God. I got a funny story about the robotic strike zone. We'll talk about this next hour. Oh, I'd love to see Donaldson hit one into the Crawford boxes right now. All right, I'll talk to you in a bit. And we do continue on this Wednesday edition of the show. Of course, you can always be a part of the program. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at the show as well. At the back page. Again, hit me up on Twitter. At the back page. We'll get back to what's going on in all these NBA games and the baseball as well. But first, we say hello to our good friend Russell Baxter. Talk some football with him at BAX Football Guru. If you're looking for him on Twitter, does a terrific job covering the NFL and has for a very long time. ProFootballGuru.com as well. Russell, what is at stake for the NFL? And I ask this way for a reason. What is at stake for the NFL with the return of Tua Tagovailoa? And how dangerous is it for the league if he has another hit and we see another situation like this that we saw obviously with him a few weeks ago where he was at? Where are you when it comes to him getting back on the field?
Well, I mean, the NFL and the NFLPA, kind of tapped heads and revised their policy in terms, and we're seeing, if you've noticed the last couple of weeks, we're seeing, for lack of a better word, a quick whistle when it comes to some of these hits and how these players are getting up and walking off the field, and so the NFL has been a little proactive. Of course, it took something like what we saw on Thursday night combined with what happened the previous week in Miami when they were playing the Bills. there was a firing of a position and so on. So the NFL has always been, I'm not saying they do everything right necessarily, but eventually they try to get it right. But sometimes it takes, something like we saw with Tagovailoa for it to happen. We've seen it in the past with big hits and fines and so on. The NFL almost reacts to the publicity and the fans and the media, almost within like a 24-hour period. If there's such an outrage, Jason, on what people see, immediately they kind of gather their forces and address it. Unfortunately, it took something like this, and that hit where he got his head slammed to the ground in the Bengals game and so on. And again, you combine with what happened earlier, and it was interesting because, and I didn't even really think of this, but when Tua got up after the Buffalo hit and looked a little shaky, and then later complained it was his back and so on, obviously everybody was a little skeptical because what we saw. But I was reminded by someone that a couple of years earlier in a playoff game, Patrick Mahomes got kind of wobbly in the game in the playoff game against the Browns.
I remember it.
Left the game, and we found out he did not have a concussion. So, you know how it is. Social media, there's, when something like this happened, there's a couple million doctors who chime in and so on. And sometimes I think we have to be careful. As it turned out in the case of Tua, it just turned out to be unfortunate and so on. And hopefully this is a step forward. I mean, listen, for years, unfortunately, the NFL had a problem with this and wound up having to address it in a major way.
I just think it was interesting that, the independent, neurologist or whatever, that guy gets fired. They announce some changes, make some changes in the protocol, and it feels like the story's over. And to me, it feels like there had to be some more culpability somewhere in the midst of this, where the team doctor is ultimately the one responsible for making the decision whether he goes back on the field. To me, it just feels like, the outrage subsided. Tua's alive, thankfully. Right. And it feels like the story just sort of ended there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But as you know, as time will go on, this will probably be revisited as far as what the details, exactly everything that happened and so on. But it's, if you think about it, it's almost as if, I'm trying to word this the correct way. For years and years and years, and this is not just with concussions, but with injuries as well. NFL players, have ignored what's happening to their bodies. And, we've seen the effects of that down the road. And that, again, that's not just with concussions. That's with playing with a broken leg, a torn bicep. They want to be out on the field. It's important for them to be out on the field. And I think sometimes sometimes they do that at their own expense. So it's almost like, let's kind of get this over with and move on so we don't miss our football game, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely makes sense. Russell Baxter at BAX Football Guru, ProFootballGuru.com, does a great job on the NFL. We know that Lamar Jackson bet on himself, coming into this season. Couldn't get on the same page with the Ravens on a long-term contract. Mm-hmm. Is he winning that bet so far or losing that bet? In my mind, he's losing it.
Well, I don't know if he's winning or losing because I'm looking at them as a 3-3 football team. And listen, last week, his play late in the fourth quarter had a lot to do with the Giants coming back. But I also look at his play when they're up big against Miami in week 2 and the Dolphins come storming back. There's got to be a little blame put on the Baltimore defense, which has had a heck of a lot of problems protecting leads this year. We saw Buffalo come back from a 20-3 deficit. And again, Lamar Jackson, that plays into that as well. You remember, he was hurt down the stretch last year, didn't play. Their pass defense was the worst in the league because of all their injuries. It's not that much better this year. So I don't know if it's necessarily he's winning or losing. He's kind of right smack in the middle, which is kind of indicative of a 3-3 football team.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I would say somewhere probably in the middle, but the last few weeks, some of the decision making and
right.
throws some of the decision making has just been suspect for a guy who's asking for what he's asking for.
Well, I think with the way their defense has performed this year and the way it performed down the stretch last year, I agree with you. I think he's trying to do too much to make up for. I mean, listen, when you're up like they were against Miami and you wind up blowing that lead at home and losing 42-38, that's, and then it happens 2 weeks later when you're up 17 points on arguably the best team in the league and can't close the door. So there's a lot of blame to go around. I mean, listen, the AFC North has been a highly competitive division. It's one, I believe, of 3 divisions in the league right now that doesn't have a team with a winning record. There's no winning record in the NFC South. There's no winning record in the NFC West. And there's certainly no winning record in the AFC North. It's kind of odd year as far as the start and so on. Offenses in general are down, Jason. And I don't want to necessarily say defenses are excelling. We're 6 weeks into the season, and with honestly a few exceptions, there hasn't been great team play. Few exceptions. There's been some outstanding performances individually, but it's almost like the whole league isn't quite in sync yet, except for that team in Philadelphia that's pretty damn good on the offensive and defensive line.
Just mediocre. Listen, it's just a mediocre league this year. I mean, it's been a tough watch. It's been a tough watch to watch NFL football, Jason, this year.
You have 4. There are 16 teams in each conference. You have 4 teams with winning records in the NFC. That's it. And 3 of them are in the NFC.
It's amazing. It really is. Talking with Russell Baxter here on the Cash In SportsMap Radio. Is Denver fixable?
Whew. I was looking at, it's just funny looking at some of their numbers this year. And it's amazing when you think that they have given up 6 offensive touchdowns in 6 games, and can't get out of their own way. And it's funny because they're in the division. You have to listen to this for a second. It's almost mind-boggling. Okay, the Chiefs are 25th in points allowed. That's points per game allowed, Jason. Mm-hmm. The Chargers are 26th. The Raiders are 28th. All in the same division. The Broncos are 4th in the league and have lost 4 of the first 6 games. I mean, it's shit. It's just wild to watch them, especially in the red zone, which it's almost embarrassing. Maybe it's the red zone because you have to be embarrassed. They can't get out of their own way. I mean, settling for field goal after field goal or turnover or return. Now, the other night, they wound up losing the game on a muff punt, which set up the Chargers. But, who would have thought this with Russell Wilson? I mean, I don't think there's any question about it. The TV networks, chime in as far as the schedule and so on and what they want, and they don't always get what they want. The 6 weeks into the season, the Broncos have been on Monday Night Football twice, Thursday Night Football once, and Sunday Night Football once. And I don't think it's because of the new ownership. I think it was because of Russell Wilson. And, right now, he and the offense just can't seem to get their act together. And they they had a game where they scored 23 points against the Raiders and gave up 32. So it again, it epitomizes the odd start to the season, and who knows what that's going to be next off season? Are we going to see teams playing guys during the preseason again? Because we seem to have gotten away from that. And I guess it was all well and good when COVID was going on because you really had no choice. There was no preseason games at all. And it's almost as if, well, that's kind of the norm now. But, I look at Matt Ryan struggling. I look at Russell Wilson, guys who are veteran guys going to new teams, and no one has really, kind of jumped out or anything like that. It's just really wild to watch some of the, and it's not limited to quarterbacks either, Jason. You look at, Devontae Adams hasn't really made the big time splash. I mean, it's the big Monday night game against the Chiefs, but you look at some of these guys who moved on and trades and different things and in a new environment, and maybe they didn't see enough action during the summer with their new teams and so on. So I think that's added to the choppiness of the league.
Who's looked good, and I got to go, but who's looked good with a new team this year, and nobody ever would have thought that Atlanta would be 3-3, and they could be damn well 4-2 if they didn't get screwed by the officials on that roughing the passer call. Mariota's played pretty well for them.
I'll tell you what, Les, a lot was made about Pittsburgh upsetting Tampa Bay. I thought Atlanta beating San Francisco was their start line. Yeah. And I know the Niners are banged up on the defensive line, but they went out, and if you watch that game, they were the more physical team against San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And that's something, and by the way, you said didn't get screwed by the officials. What if they hadn't blown the big lead against the Saints?
Yeah.
In week one as well. So they, to me, are his biggest surprise. I mean, the Giants, I think, have really kind of shocked everyone. They've already won more games than they did last year. And by the way, have beaten the Ravens, have beaten the Packers, have beaten the Titans. So you think about
crazy.
Who were the top two teams in the conferences last year? Tennessee and Green Bay.
Yeah,
I know it's a different year and all that, but the Giants, and why are they doing it? They got some help on the offensive and defensive line.
Yeah.
Listen, we're all guilty of it. Love talking quarterbacks. But the reason the Eagles won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago was because of their offensive lines. And that's probably why they're excelling there right now. They're as good in the trenches as any team in the league, and I'm talking about both sides of the ball.
It's true. Russell Baxter, ProFootballGuru.com. Find him on Twitter at BAXFootballGuru. Thank you, my friend.
Talk to you soon.
We'll wrap up the hour next. Nah, this game was a loss. I was kind of banking on it. Yeah. I would have never. I can't ever bet against the Yankees, but I certainly wouldn't have bet on this game. Oh, you're nuts. Yeah, I think it's a 7 games. I do think it's a 7-game series. I've known him for years. Called him up about, I don't know, 7 or 8 months ago about something, and he sounds exactly the same on the phone. He sounds exactly the same. Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep. What am I going to have, about 30 seconds coming out of here? All right. All right. Hey, if you haven't checked out Jock MKT yet, they offer live daily markets for sports that let you buy and sell shares of athletes in real time with other users, all for real money. Each share with a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. Bid on shares before the games in the IPO phase. Trade shares live while the games are happening. All shares with a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. Head over to the Jock MKT app or go to jockmkt.com and deposit with the code CASHIN on your first deposit to receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Your first market will also be risk-free with losses refunded up to $100. And something even better. First-time depositors here on the Cash In, we're giving away $100 to one lucky first-time user that uses my promo code CASHIN. Here's what you do. Make your first deposit using my promo code, then direct message me with a screenshot on Twitter at the back page. You do that, you're entered to win $100. We're going to draw the winner on Halloween night here on the show, but you got to make your first deposit using my promo code CASHIN and send me a screenshot. You do that, you're entered to win $100. We'll give it away on Halloween night. We'll tell you what happened with the Yankees and Astros 9th inning in Houston as we continue on SportsMap Radio. Why is it saying failed? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I got four shares of Rizzo, and so my profit's about $32 right now. Yeah. Yeah, he finished third, which pays out $14 per share. So that's $56. Yeah, it's not bad. And he cost me $5.80 a share. So, yeah, decent. Oh! Hit the base. Be right back. The name of the show is The Cash In, and that's what we're always trying to help you do. Yeah, we talk about the big stories. Yeah, we get into the big issues. But it's all about trying to help you make money. I made money tonight with Anthony Rizzo. I tell you guys about Jock Market, and it's a lot of fun. You know, not sports betting isn't legal everywhere. Fantasy is legal virtually everywhere. Jock Market's in like 36 states, and eventually they'll be in more. And I'm not saying it because they're a sponsor of the show. I love using it. It's a ton of fun. And I'm trying to encourage people because it's different than fantasy sports where you got to fill out an entire fantasy lineup, go get, 9 guys, do all your homework on all of them. I went and got one player tonight. One player. I went and bought 4 shares of Anthony Rizzo for $6 a piece and wound up making, $40 or $50 just for sitting there watching him hit a home run and walk and get hit by a pitch. Simple as that. Go and check it out. JockMKT.com is the website, and JockMKT, the app. It's like the stock market, except instead of buying shares in, Intel, you're buying shares in whoever your favorite player is in a particular game. And you can get as many players and as many shares as you want. And based on how the players do, there's different prize amounts for different slots. It's really cool. I'm telling you, check it out. And again, we're doing a giveaway of $100 to one lucky first-time depositor using my promo code CASHIN. All you got to do, send me a direct message on Twitter at the back page. Just send me a direct message with a screenshot of your deposit with my promo code. And we're going to draw the winner on Halloween night here on the show. But you got to make your first deposit using my promo code CASHIN, CASHIN, all one word. Send me a screenshot. You do that, you're entered to win the $100. We'll give it away on Halloween night. Yankees fall to the Astros 4-2. No surprise there. They were up against it in Game 1. Game 2, I think, is going to be a different story. I like the matchup for the Yankees. Padres and Phillies will resume their series on Friday. We'll come back. I got a thought on a big college football story next on the Cash In. It's SportsMap Radio. Yeah, I mean, look, I got to talk about it. Last night? Yeah. Was it on the app? Oh, I didn't know I air in Houston on the local affiliate. Really? I didn't know that. Damn it, I didn't know that. Damn, I did not know we were on in Houston. It said on my... See, this is why. My Gold, Jerry Gold. Say what you want, but don't play games with my affection. It's a Paul McCartney song that he did with Michael Jackson. They did a duet together back in the 80s called Say, Say, Say. It's a very interesting video, too. If you ever get a chance, Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson, go and check it out. How old are you, Belmer? 30? Yeah, that answers that. I have to say something. And people that work from home and, you know, the new normal that we live in, where a lot of people remote work and stuff like that, unless you're our producer engineer, John Belmer, who's pushing the buttons back at Master Control in Houston tonight at the SportsMap Radio World headquarters, who has to actually go into a studio and into it. Yeah, I host the show from my home. Now, we are in the process of getting an actual facility that will house the show. But long story short, this show kind of came to fruition very quickly. We didn't have a studio lined up, so I host from home. But like many people, I have to deal with the things that come from working from home. And for a lot of people, you know, they have kids or something like that, or their spouses are around. My spouse is out of town on business. But the one thing I do have is a dog. And I have to say, the person who's taking the biggest beating from me working at night from home is definitely my dog. He is not liking it one bit. He is hating it. I got to get a video shot of him. He's under the table right now. He's under the table where I'm doing the show, and he's got his paw on my foot. That's like his ownership thing that he does. But, you know, some people have kids and stuff like that, and obviously, I shouldn't say that. Gay people have kids. But I guess, Belmer, it's true. Gay couples have kids. Yeah, they can, absolutely. It's this thing called adoption, or, you know, whatever. Anyway, but I have a dog, and he demands so much of me. No. The only way he will bark is if somebody rings the doorbell. And I should put a sign outside that says don't ring the doorbell, but I know if I put a sign out there that says don't ring the doorbell, somebody will ring it out of spite and just, you know, run away. So, oh yeah. At 8:14 at night, you'd be amazed. Yeah. We're the cool kids. We live in California. Sorry. But I'm telling you, my dog is hating life right now. Like, he really is. He paces around during the show because he's used to having me all to himself. Or my husband's here or whatever. But, I mean, he's used to having me all the time. Because up until I started doing this show again, yeah, I was podcasting and doing some things in the media, but I didn't have a set schedule. Now he knows for 3 hours every night he can't have me, and it's driving him nuts. He's not adjusting to it well at all. I'll put a picture up on my Twitter feed at the back page during the break, and you guys can see what I'm talking about. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You could tweet at the show, as always, at the back page, again on Twitter, at the back page. Coming up a little later on in this hour, about 25 minutes from now, Week 7 NFL early lines. We'll get into some of the picks we like early on this week. It's something we do every Wednesday here on the show. Of course, Thursday Night Football tomorrow as well. Okay, look, I'm just going to come right out and, you know, avoid all the BS that comes with this story. Nick Saban and the Alabama, you know, the University of Alabama, they have got to suspend Jermaine Burton for the rest of the season now. There's no need to wait. We've seen all we need to see from what took place in Tennessee on Saturday night. I've seen everything I need to see. There's nothing else we need to know about this situation. I don't need to hear, an explanation as to why. I've seen the video. I'm literally watching the video again right now as I sit here and talk to you guys. When you have a player from Alabama take his hand and take a swipe at a woman running by him. By the way, by the time he took the swipe at her, she was already practically by him. So it's not like the cameraman in the NFL situation that took place a couple of weeks ago where, the player from the Raiders pushed down the cameraman who was right in front of him. And even that was unacceptable, but it was slightly more at least understandable in the moment what was happening. What threat does this woman pose to a wide receiver from the University of Alabama as she's running by him to go celebrate with her friends after the Volunteers put up 52 on the Crimson Tide? What threat is she posing? There's no reason for him to put his hand on her in any way, shape, or form. And what do I get from Nick Saban today? We are aware of the situation with Jermaine Burton as he was exiting the field Saturday. We're currently working to gather more information. What information do you need? What information do you need to know that what he did was terrible? There is no excuse to put your hands on a woman in any sort of violent moment. And in this case, seeing the video now, there's definitely no reason for him to put his hands on her, or hand on her as it may be. He's Alabama's fourth leading receiver this season. 6 foot, 200 pounds. Oh yeah, she was a threat to him. There's nothing. There's nothing he can say. 18 catches, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. Alabama's back at home on Saturday night. He had better be suspended by then. The clip was originally shared by Tennessee fan Emily Isaacs along with the caption, "Jermaine Burton smacking me in the head while walking past him." It's just, again, there's just no reason whatsoever for it. We'll see if Alabama does the right thing. I have to think they will. Maybe in terms of fact-finding, they just want to get, his side of the story, and then the university has to make a decision because it's not strictly a football thing. Do you wind up suspending him from the football program? Do you suspend him from school? Does he get expelled from school? I don't know how far you go with something like this. I just know that he should not be on the football team for the rest of the season. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that he should be, arrested, although in these days, it. These days, you see this stuff all the time. Somebody gets pushed down or somebody gets a hand put on them, and all of a sudden, before you know it, Gloria Allred is having a press conference with this young woman in tears explaining how this has destroyed her life. It goes both ways in situations like this where, as much as I am outraged that a player would do something this stupid, as much as that ticks me off, the other end of it ticks me off where it winds up getting taken to the extreme. And before we know it, like I said, she's sitting up there, with whoever the next Johnny Cochran is, explaining why she needs, $500,000 from the University of Alabama because of what this kid did. I'm not saying you ruined the kid's life. I'm just saying, as far as football is concerned, he should not be back on the field this year. You got to send a message. And there's a whole nother conversation to be had about field storming and court storming, but we've been having that conversation for years, and it never changes. I don't care how much security they have there. There's no way they were going to be able to stop, 75, 80,000 people from charging onto the field after they get their biggest win in who knows how long for the Tennessee Volunteers program. Have you ever stormed a field or court of any kind, Belmer? Nah, me neither. I don't even know if I'm trying to think if I've even ever been at an event live where somebody stormed the field or stormed the court. I don't think so. But you can't hit it. Yes, down the Tennessee River, and yes, yeah. Which then flowed like into the Mississippi River or something like that. I don't know. But you can't put your hands on a woman. You got to be smarter than that. And what I wish Nick Saban would say, and maybe he has said this in a subsequent statement, and if he has, and I just missed it, I apologize. But you got to say something more than the typical stock PR line of, we're aware of the situation with Jermaine Burton as he was exiting the field. We're currently working. How about just saying there's no excuse to put your hands on a woman? Period. Full stop. Why is that difficult? I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting. Wouldn't be the first time. Maybe I'm just completely wrong. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at me at the back page. How would you punish Jermaine Burton? If I made you the athletic director, the school chancellor at the University of Alabama, how would you punish Jermaine Burton for giving the Heisman to a woman and knocking her? Well, you didn't knock her down. I don't want to say that because that would be inaccurate. But he certainly hit her, and it was visible for all to see. So, what should the punishment be? What's a fair sanction for that sort of behavior? Again, I have a hard time finding an excuse for it. 800-224-2004. Hit me up on Twitter as well, at the back page. We'll let you know what's going on around the NBA tonight. Take a look at some live lines. Last check, the Mavericks were putting a whooping on the Suns on opening night. Yikes. Give me some Luka Doncic. Our friends on 97.1 The Freak are certainly happy. I think they're probably listening to the game right now, as a matter of fact. So we're on the flagship for the Mavericks games this year. All right, stick around. More to do as we continue the Cash In on SportsMap Radio.
Internally, and that's, we handle, discipline issues, internally, and that's the way we'll handle this. But, as I said today, when I was asked about the whole, the league has tried to control people, rushing the field, and, it's a difficult circumstance for the league. It's a difficult circumstances for the people who are on the field. But, we got to go through those difficult circumstances and still respect other people. And I think that's on us to do that. And that's certainly a lesson, for all of us to learn relative to this.
Jesus Christ. Why is it saying failed? You were able to get the account set up and We roll along on this Wednesday edition of the show. Halfway home. So this is what Nick Saban said regarding this Alabama player, Jermaine Burton. Take a listen carefully to Nick Saban's comments. Boy, he should run for office with this kind of political statement.
Handle, discipline issues, internally, and that's the way we'll handle this. But, as I said today, when I was asked about the whole, the league has tried to control people, rushing the field, and it's a difficult circumstance for the league. It's a difficult circumstances for the people who are on the field. But, we got to go through those difficult circumstances and still respect other people. And I think that's on us to do that. And that's certainly a lesson, for all of us to learn relative to this.
It's just, how difficult is it to say you shouldn't hit a woman? I mean, my golly, Miss Molly, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why is that so difficult for Nick Saban to say? It's inexcusable to hit a woman in that spot. To hit any fan, I just don't get it. It's all this generic word salad that he puts out there. And again, whatever. It's Nick Saban. He can say what he wants. All right, so time to look at some lines. By the way, coming up in the next segment, we'll do one of my favorite things we do every Wednesday on the show. We will go through every NFL line for this week's games and tell you what we like and tell you what we don't like, at least as it pertains to the games we're looking at for Week 7 in the NFL. Everybody called last Sunday Separation Sunday. Well, what makes this Sunday any different? You got a bunch of 3-3 teams and some 4-2. Well, mostly 3-3 and 2-4 teams because there's not many teams above 500, as you heard Russell Baxter explain in the last hour of the show. But before we get to what's going on in the NBA tonight, just to update you, Phillies lost to the Padres today. That series is tied up 1 game apiece. Padres win 8-5, 5-run inning. They come from 4-2 down to get the win. Game 3 of that series in Philadelphia, Friday night, 7:38 p.m. Eastern for the first pitch. I'll get to the line and talk a little bit about that in a second. Yankees fall in Houston to the Astros 4-2 tonight. Astros with 3 solo home runs. Martin Maldonado with an RBI double as well. Justin Verlander was spectacular for, 6 innings tonight? I think he had 11 strikeouts. I think he struck out like 6 Yankees in a row at one point. He was really good. Great bounce-back performance from him off the terrible Game 1 start against the Mariners in the American League Divisional Series. So the Yankees, and Jameson Taillon pitched pretty well for the Yankees. Gave him, 4+ innings, only gave up 1 run. Very easily could have finished that 5th inning, but got the quick hook is wont to happen in the postseason. But so tomorrow, here's what we have. Yankees, Astros in Houston for Game 2, 7:38 p.m. Eastern first pitch. It'll be Luis Severino for the Yankees, and he's had some issues pitching in the postseason, so I'm not going to lie. I get some concerns there. Framber Valdez goes for the Astros. I think he's gettable for the Yankees. I think the Yankees win tomorrow. Feeling pretty confident in that. Plus 126, the Yankees on the money line tomorrow. And that tells you Vegas is feeling pretty confident in the Yankees to win tomorrow. Plus 126 on the road in the playoffs. That tells you that they're pretty confident in the Yankees. Plus 126 on the Yankees. Minus 148 for the Astros. Well, maybe, I shouldn't say it's terribly confident because I think last night was minus 190 on the Astros, if I'm not mistaken. for Verlander's game. So you get a significant drop in the juice for game 2 at minus 148. Yankees again, plus 126. I would take the Yankees on the money line. I think they win. The spread is Yankees plus 1.5, minus 194. Houston minus 1.5, plus 160. And the total right now is 7. I think it goes over tomorrow. I think you're going to get some runs in this game tomorrow with Severino and Valdez. Could be a little bit of a slugfest. Just what I'm seeing. I know that's not typical in the postseason, but that's what I'm seeing as far as tomorrow's game is concerned. Padres and Phillies game 3 on Friday night. The opening line is out on that with Java Joe Musgrove, getting the start. Suarez goes for the Phillies. The Phillies are minus 102. The Padres are minus 116. So the Padres are a road favorite for game 3. And I think that's a product of the starting pitching in Joe Musgrove. On the spread, minus 1.5 for the Padres at plus 146. The Phillies plus a 1.5 at minus 176. And the total is 7.5. All right, as far as the NBA is concerned, what is still left to be finished tonight? The Mavericks and the Suns going at it right now in Phoenix. That game early in the third quarter. Dallas leading Phoenix 67-45. Wow. Kind of a night. I got to see what Luka's doing. But I tell you, Dallas is going to be fun to watch this year. Phoenix is an interesting story. You had this story that we talked about where DeAndre Ayton and Williams, hadn't talked. Monty Williams hadn't talked during the entire offseason. I mean, one of your biggest stars on the team, and a guy that you just gave a big contract to, and this up-and-coming head coach, and they didn't talk all off-season about the fact that Ayton was benched practically for Game 7 of that Western Conference semifinal last year. Just bizarre. But I guess they're going to figure out a way to work that out. But Dallas is no joke, man. I know they lost Jalen Brunson, and that's got some people down in the Big D, but Doncic is just amazing. 25. Yeah, here's Doncic's line tonight. 21 minutes, 8 of 12 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 7 of 7 at the line, 25.6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. Guy is so good. Phoenix being led by Devin Booker, who has 17. Problem for the Suns is they're only shooting 40% from the field. It's so, I don't go crazy on the NBA and making early season prognostications and trying to extrapolate something you see in game 1 or game 2. I get that we have a 24/7, 365 news cycle in the sports world, and they got to find something to talk about. But the hyperbole and the hyperventilating on the Lakers after the loss last night against, by the way, one of the best teams in basketball on their ring night. The hyperventilating that was going on the sports networks today, it's comical. I can't take any of you seriously. I'm not saying the Lakers are going to be better than what we saw last night and that they're going to be some, 4 seed or 5 seed or even an 8 seed. Maybe they're a play-in team, whatever. And I get that there's a collection of talent on there that dictates they should be better than what we saw last night, but it's game 1. These guys barely play in the preseason. They're just getting their legs under them. The Lakers are trying to figure out who's going to be able to chip in beyond, the 5 or 6 players they have any sort of confidence in. And after game 1, I'm already getting, they should trade Russell Westbrook. What? Got to go get your heads examined. I'm not saying they shouldn't trade Westbrook, but can we wait until, 10, 15, 20 games in? NFL lines, we'll examine them next on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Yeah, I'll do it on this end. Yeah, I don't mind doing it on this end because it's all self-contained anyway. No, because the only reason I don't mind doing it on this end is it's a pain in the butt for me replaying it on the video. That's why. Because then I got to replay the stream, and it's goofy. It's no offense to you. I know you can do it. Yeah. So who's on tomorrow, Brian? Friday, correct. Ugh. Bleeding Christ. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you right now, the moment I have money, that ain't going to be the case. I can tell you right now. So anyway, I was finishing my thought on the NBA before I got sidetracked on Luka talk. He's got 25 now. 70-59. It's the NBA. Everybody makes a run. 70-59. Dallas on top of Phoenix on opening night for those two teams in Phoenix. I'll be in Phoenix in a couple of weeks for a bowling tournament. Can't wait. Mavericks lead 70-59. 6:48 to go. Third quarter, Dallas minus 6.5 on the live betting, minus 360 on the money line. And if you're looking at the live total on that, it's 214.5 as of this moment. The other late game going on right now, Portland and Sacramento. It's the Kings leading the Blazers in Sacto, 63-53. There's some expectations of that Kings team this year. Now, people have thought for a couple of years they were sort of knocking on the door, had some talent. The problem is the West is just so good. The Western Conference is just a beast. I mean, you're going to have a couple of really craptastic teams. You like that one, Belmer? You're going to have a couple of craptastic teams in the West, and everybody else is going to be really good. By the way, not the way you want to raise the curtain on your 2022-2023 season for the Nets tonight. At home against Zion Williamson and the Pelicans. I got to be honest. When it comes to the Nets this year, I am here for the dumpster fire. I want to see just how bad it can get. Because as an organization, if you're dumb enough, after Kevin Durant demands to be traded, demands that Steve Nash be fired and basically everybody in the franchise be let go except for him in order to stay. After all of that, if you think you could put Humpty Dumpty, which is the Nets franchise, back together again, you're out of your mind. I mean, it's just, it's the most delusional crap I've ever seen. And trust me, if the going gets bad early on for them, that thing is going to be the train wreck of train wrecks in the NBA. If you think the Lakers, it's the Lakers on the West Coast and the Nets on the East Coast. Those are the two dumpster fires. Those are the two, American Idol auditions that we all want to watch just to see how bad it can get. And that's what those two franchises are right now. They're a mess. Who knows? Maybe they both clean it up, and I'm not going to go crazy after one game. But all the talk we heard in the preseason, and Kyrie Irving's all super hyped up and excited about how good the Nets are going to be this year. Give me Kyrie. Here's Kyrie.
It feels good to get started from day one.
We got to go through those.
Oh, man. Where is it? Let's see. Here's Kyrie. Let me give you Kyrie. Hold on one second.
Really just echoing what it means to trust your teammates out here and build on and off the court. We are professionals when we step into this building, but off the court we can still build and do things that help us unify on the court. So it's good to get started with all the guys, and I don't want to take anything here for granted.
The flat earther tonight didn't have his best game. 15 points on 6 of 19 shooting for Kyrie in game 1. Durant played well. Of course he will. One of the best players in the league. 32 points for Durant tonight on 11 of 21 shooting. Of course, all we really care about is Zion Williamson. How about Zion? 30 minutes on his opening night. 11 of 22 from the field. 25 points. He didn't shoot any threes. Wow. 25 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals for Zion Williamson. I'm telling you, if that group is healthy, they're going to be really good. I mean, look at Williamson, Ingram, and C.J. McCollum. You had Williamson 11 of 22 from the field for 25. Ingram 10 of 17 for 28. He was the leading scorer. McCollum 7 of 16, 21. I mean, between the three of them, you got, let's do some quick math, 53 and 21, 74 points. Just between the three of them. Team's going to be good. Can't say the same for the Nets. Who knows what they're going to be. I mean, they're a preseason, top 4, top 5 team. When you look at the odds to win an NBA title, I wouldn't have touched them with. If you gave me John Belmer's money, I wouldn't have touched them. Phoenix making a run, by the way, like I said, because it is the NBA. Dallas 72, Phoenix 64. About midway through the third quarter in Phoenix. Knicks wound up losing in Memphis in overtime, 115-112, despite a gallant effort. They were down double digits in the fourth quarter. This is going to be one of those years where we're going to have to see just how bad San Antonio is going to be. I think both they and Utah are going to be really kind of sucking wind this year. I don't know how Utah beat Denver tonight. I have no idea if somebody bound and gagged a bunch of Denver players and left them in the locker room. I didn't see any highlights, but Utah beat Denver tonight 123-103, which is just, I'm completely perplexed on how that happened. Did somebody take Nikola Jokic and hide him somewhere from the world? I have no idea. I mean, let me tell you something. I can't even tell you the names of some of the guys on the Utah. If you tell me some of these guys on the Utah, Rudy Gay is on the Utah roster? Rudy Gay, this is crazy. Utah got 20 from Colin Sexton off the bench. Malik Beasley had 15. Rudy Gay had 16 off the bench. Rudy Gay's got to be 740 years old. How old is Rudy Gay? Let me see. Rudy Gay is 36. Wow. Still going strong. Man, just keep collecting those paychecks. The Utah Jazz are starting Jordan Clarkson, Mike Conley, Jared Vanderbilt, Lauri Markkanen, and Kelly Olynyk. and they beat the Nuggets tonight by 21. They beat them by 21. How does that even happen? Telling you, man. You just never know on any given night, one game. That's why like if the NBA had the sort of tournament that the NCAA has at the end of the year to decide it all. I'm not talking about this round robin thing they're doing, but I'm talking like a real tournament to find a winner. You'd wind up with some goofy stuff by the time you get to the final to crown a champion. All right, NFL, I said we would go through the Week 7 matchups. I shortchanged myself a little bit because I got into it on the NBA. That's okay. That's what ADD looks like and sounds like on the radio. Week 7, tomorrow night, obviously kicks it off with the Saints and the Cardinals in Arizona. 2.5 to the Saints. They're plus 118 on the money line, 43.5 for the total. I don't have a great feel for the game. I wouldn't touch it. Lions and the Cowboys. You all know how I feel about Dallas by now. I am all in on the Cowboys as a Super Bowl contender. I have been for the last 4 games, ironically enough, while Dak Prescott wasn't on the field. He returns this week, and I think he'll be okay. I'm just not sure how good he's going to be in game number 1. And Detroit's played a lot of fairly close games, so I'm not sure I'm comfortable with Dallas -7. I'm not saying I'd take Detroit +7. Might be one of those games you need to kind of stay away from, though. 48.5 is the total. If anything, I'd probably lean towards the under. Because I don't think the Dallas offense is going to be particularly effective, at least for Dak coming back in his first game, getting used to game speed and all that stuff. I think they're going to play it pretty conservative in his first game back. We'll wait and see. Maybe I'm wrong. The Colts and Titans, with Indianapolis getting 2.5 on the road. Huge game for both teams atop the AFC South. Again, if anything, I would lean towards the under 42.5. There's not a lot of points being scored this year. We were talking about that last hour with our buddy Russell Baxter. Giants and the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Look, after a 2-2 start, I think everybody was all over Jacksonville as a potential AFC South winner when Tennessee and Indianapolis got off to a sluggish start to the season. All of a sudden, Jacksonville looks like Jacksonville again. Sloppy, turnover prone, and look, the Giants, let's see how they handle prosperity. They're a 5-1 football team through 6 weeks. I don't know that I'm ready to crown them yet, as Dennis Green would say, but they keep finding ways to win. And they're starting to find an identity. And I think teams have to take them seriously. I think the Jaguars will. I think you ride her till she bucks. The Giants are 5-1 against the spread this year. I would expect that trend to continue. I like the Giants +3. Cleveland and Baltimore, and boy, these two teams both need a win desperately right now. The Browns have been up and down. I think they're just trying to tread water until they get Deshaun Watson back. We've talked about that ad nauseum. 45.5 the total. 6.5 to Cleveland on the road in Baltimore. I like the Ravens this week. I think they get a bounce back win. Atlanta has been one of the darlings of the NFL. They are, I believe, 6-0 against the spread. They're getting 6.5 on the road in Cincinnati. The Bengals offense is still trying to feel itself out. They're not as high-powered as people, I think, thought they would be before the season started. And Atlanta's a cover machine. I don't know how you pick against Atlanta when they haven't lost against the spread yet. They're +6.5. You got to take them, don't you? +220 on the money line as well. They could easily be 4-2 right now. as we talked about earlier in the show. The Packers have been a mess, but here's the good news for Packer fans. You're 3-3 and you play the Washington Commanders on the road this week. And I know Aaron Rodgers having some issues with the thumb that he hurt in the Giants game over in the UK. But I think, Green Bay is a safe bet this week, -4.5. If they lose on the road at Washington, all hell's going to break loose. I don't think they've ever lost 3 in a row under Matt LaFleur, and I don't think that happens this week. I think they figure out a way to win in Washington and cover the 4.5. Tampa Bay, I have no confidence in. I don't care. Listen, I think this line is nutty. I think it's based on reputation. I know the Panthers have issues, both in terms of the head coach, who they obviously fired. I know their quarterback situation is kind of up in the air. But Tampa Bay's offense just isn't that good. It has not been effective. They lost to Pittsburgh last week. 10.5 for the Buccaneers to be giving anybody right now is nuts. I'm not laying it. I'm not saying I'll take Carolina. I'm sure as hell not taking Tampa Bay -10.5. The Texans in Las Vegas take on the Raiders. Amazingly, at 1-4, the Raiders are still getting enough respect to be a 7-point favorite, even though they have the same number of wins as the Texans do. And the Texans actually have a tie to go with their win. Proceed at your own risk. The Jets on the road to take on the Broncos, and the Jets are definitely getting respect. They are +1, which basically makes it a pick'em game on the road in Denver. We've seen how bad Russell Wilson and the Broncos have been. We need to rehash that over and over again. Seattle and Los Angeles, Seahawks and the Chargers. Not a good feel for that. Seattle +6, the total 51.5. I think that's a bit high. Kansas City on the road to take on the 49ers. I love this matchup. High-powered offense versus a Super Bowl caliber defense, basically. -2.5 to Kansas City, which seems a bit generous. Right now, I'd say I like Kansas City -2.5. They tell me I'm out of time. I missed 2 games. We'll try and get to them on the other side as we finish up the hour. All right, stick with us. Lots more to do as we continue to go through Week 7 in the NFL. 800-224-2004. Any games you like? 800-224-2004. I'm Jason Page. It's the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Yeah, like some sort of bumper that goes to break. Yeah. There should be. Yeah, see, like a night like tonight, we're not on in Dallas. Yeah. Just finishing up the Week 7 stuff we were talking about. Pittsburgh and Miami. Steelers shocked the football world with their win last week over Tampa Bay. They are +7 on the road in Miami. That's probably right around where that line should be, given the fact that Tua is making his return. Not a game I like. Again, we do Page's picks every Friday on the show. I don't know what we're going to do this week because I'm off on Friday. I don't want to give them on Thursday because you don't have all the information. Maybe I'll just put them up on my social media. You guys can check them out at the back page. The Monday night game. Oh, yay. We get to see the Bears again in primetime. God, help us. Bears and Patriots on Monday night. Oh, golly gee. 7.5 to the Bears. I just don't even care. I can't care. The Bears are just impossible to watch. Bailey Zappi's been fun, but I can't get excited about any game in prime time involving the Bears. With what we've seen out of that team, I just can't do it. I can't do it. No more Bears in prime time. We get it. They're bad. How about this, by the way? Mavericks now leading the Suns 79-76. 22 seconds to go in the third quarter. So Phoenix drawing closer out there. We'll keep tabs on that. Kings and Blazers are close too, 84-82. That game about to enter the fourth quarter. Stick around, another hour of the cash-in right around the corner on SportsMap Radio. Like what? Oh, like. Yes, I did. Shit. Oh, God. Yeah, if Vlad were here, he would be crushing me for these. as they play in the fourth quarter. Blazers leading the Kings 92-89 fairly early in the fourth quarter there as well. We'll keep tabs on both of those games as we move through this final hour of the show. Want to talk to, we'll hear from, I should say, a little later in this hour, from my buddy Russell Baxter, ProFootballGuru.com. He's been around the NFL forever. And you can find him on Twitter at Bax, B-A-X, Football Guru. We'll hear from him coming up in about 33 minutes on the show. I haven't talked about the live golf stuff in a while. I have some thoughts on that because Rory McIlroy's taken Phil Mickelson to task, which is like clubbing baby seals right now. It's pretty easy. So we'll get to that coming up. And your money is good when it comes to the Super Bowl and spending $1 zillion on an ad. It doesn't matter who wants to give money. They will take your money. They just want to make sure they fill all the ad spots. I'll explain what I'm talking about coming up in a little bit. I talked about the Tua Tagovailoa story earlier in the show and how vitally important it is for the NFL and the Dolphins to make sure they get this right as far as his health is concerned. Coming up in a couple of minutes, we'll get into a really tragic story from the world of college football that some people are glomming onto as an excuse to try and bring up some conspiracy theories that are just off the charts nuts. But we'll get to that coming up in a couple of minutes as well. 800-224-2004. Final hour of the cash-in starts in just moments on the SportsMap Radio Network. Smokers rates. You don't smoke, do you? Come on, man. Do you really? Yeah, you better cut that out right now. Got to do better than that. It's very, very just awful. Yeah. Yeah, my dad was a chimney growing up, and that made me never want to touch cigarettes ever. Yeah. Stop. Stop. Wow. 12 minutes past the hour. Have you checked out Jock MKT yet? What are you waiting for? It's like the stock market. Only instead of trading, Intel and Microsoft, you can trade Aaron Judge, Jordan Alvarez, LeBron James, whoever you want. Jock MKT offers live daily markets for sports that let you buy and sell shares of athletes in real time with other users, all for real money. And each share is a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. Bid on shares before the games in the IPO phase and trade shares live while the games are happening. All shares have a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. They're currently live in 36 states. There are more to come for NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, PGA, and NASCAR. Check it out. Head over to the Jock MKT app. You can download it on your iPhone or Android phone, or go to jockmkt.com and deposit with code CASHIN to receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Cash in. That's one word, CASHIN. Get 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Your first market is also free with losses refunded up to $100. I mean, that isn't enough to go and try it out. Like I said, instead of having to put a fantasy lineup together where you're, putting 5 or 6 or 8 or 9 guys together, you can go get one player. I went and took Anthony Rizzo tonight. He finished third. I made like $40 or $50. I had 4 shares of him, did well, won some money. Simple as that. And it gets better. We're doing something really cool the rest of this month for first-time depositors here on the Cash In. We are giving away $100 cash, straight cash, homie. We're giving away $100 to one lucky first-time user of Jock MKT that uses my promo code CASHIN. CASHIN. Here's what you got to do. Make your first deposit using that promo code. Then direct message me a screenshot on Twitter at the back page. Simple. You do that, you're entered to win $100. We're going to be drawing the winner on Halloween night here on the show. But you have to make your first deposit using my promo code CASHIN and send me a screenshot. That's all you got to do. Just direct message it to me. You do that, you're entered to win $100. We'll give it away on Halloween night. JockMKT.com, promo code CASHIN, or JockMKT, the app. Download it. Use that promo code. Good luck. 1-800-224-2004 is the phone number. 800-224-2004. Keeping an eye on the NBA games. 95-87, Dallas on top of Phoenix. Suns had gotten it down to a 2 or a 3-point game. But now Dallas back up in front by 7 with about 5:50 to go. Blazers lead the Kings. Kings lead the Blazers now, 99-97 with 5:43 to go in the fourth quarter. Opening night for everybody around the NBA except the 4 teams that played last night. It's a bit of a downer of a story, but it's definitely one that needs to be talked about, especially in the vein of what we were discussing about player health and what transpired with Tua Tagovailoa a few weeks ago. We heard from him earlier in the show talking about his plans to come back this week, what he couldn't remember, all of this and that. And nobody knows, there is no full story right now on what happened with this kid from Mississippi State. And it's just an awful story. Mississippi State football player Sam Westmore died on Wednesday at the age of 18. We're talking about an 18-year-old kid that was found dead on Wednesday. He would have been just 19 years old. His birthday would have been Friday. The school said in a release the university was deeply saddened by the news. This is the statement from the folks at Mississippi State. The Mississippi State athletics family is heartbroken by the sudden death of Sam Westmore. Bulldogs coach Mike Leach said in a statement, Sam was a beloved son, brother, and teammate, and a tremendous young man with a limitless future. He will always be remembered and deeply missed by everyone who knew and loved him. The entire MSU family mourns as our thoughts and prayers go out to the Westmoreland family. Our highest priority is the support of the Westmoreland family and our student athletes during this troubling time. Oktibbeha County Coroner Michael Hunt told the Associated Press Wednesday night, foul play is not suspected, but did not provide further details. Mississippi State said that the county sheriff's office and the office of the county medical examiner and coroner are gathering information on Westmoreland's passing. He's a freshman from Tupelo, Mississippi, played high school football in Tupelo, was majoring in industrial technology at Mississippi State, and that's all we really know. Now, some people have taken this as an opportunity to sort of try and speculate as to what happened to this young man. I'm not going to do that. But those that are speculating as to what may have caused this, I mean, I've seen everything from the, mental health issues to the COVID vaccine caused his death. Just stop. Back away from the keyboard. Let the investigation play out. Nobody knows what happened to this young man yet. They're going to find out. A coroner's going to go and do an autopsy, and they're going to figure out what happened, I would imagine, in relatively short order. But for the love of Pete, just right now, let the family mourn whatever happened to this young man. Does it really matter? I mean, if at 18 years old a kid is dead, can we all just agree that it's tragic, that it's terrible, no matter how he died? Nobody should be dead at 18. I mean, one moment you're a college football player, you're a freshman, your rest of your life is ahead of you, and now you're 18 years old and you're dead. It's just a god-awful story, and people should just let it sit. Figure out, there'll be plenty of time to talk about whatever the cause of death was. We're going to get answers soon enough. These things don't take very long to figure out, especially if they already know that foul play isn't suspected. They're going to be able to figure out in pretty short order what happened to this kid. And then we can, have a conversation about whatever it was that took his life. But just an awful story. 18 years old. Rest in peace, Sam Westmoreland. 1-800-224-2004. Tweet at the show at the back page. Keeping you up to date on the NBA, which is what we do because we're all about the live betting. 97-94 Mavericks on top of the Suns with 4:49 to go in the fourth quarter. It's basically opening night for the NBA, all but 4 teams last night, which opened up the season. And 104-104, 3:18 to go in the fourth quarter with the Blazers and the Kings in Sacramento. Coming up in this hour, we'll hear from Russell Baxter, ProFootballGuru.com, Bax Football Guru. If you're looking for him on Twitter, we'll hear what he has to say about a whole slew of topics. Now, there's so much to get into around the league. Sometimes I feel like I need 2 segments with these guys when we get them on the show. I didn't get to talk about this with Russell, but interesting to see what's happened in Denver. We were talking about the mess that is the Broncos, and now it looks like Melvin Gordon, who basically got no run on Monday night. Now they're saying Melvin Gordon met with Nathaniel Hackett on Wednesday, and the coach explained why Gordon didn't get that many carries in the second half of the loss against the Chargers. And now there's conversation that Gordon may get a lot more carries this weekend. That he's basically going to be the RB1 essentially, which is odd because Latavius Murray, who was signed off of the Saints practice squad earlier this month, had 15 carries for 66 yards in the game and actually played fairly well. But sounds like Gordon and Hackett got into a good place as far as those two sides are concerned. We'll see what happens this week for Denver as they try to resurrect their season now at 2-4. And told that Hackett had said he would start Sunday against the Jets. Gordon said, "Who started last week?" So Gordon saying it's not a matter of who starts the game, It's a matter of how many carries are you getting in the game. Melvin Gordon started the game against the Chargers and obviously only got a few carries and basically no run in the second half. His point is, I don't care if I'm starting. I just want to get enough. I want to get some carries. Gordon, by the way, 4 fumbles this season. If you want a reason why you're not playing, how about holding on to the football? 4:05 to go, fourth quarter. Mavericks lead the Suns 100-96. Kings on top of the Blazers 106-105. 2:18 to go in the fourth quarter. When we continue, nobody wins in the live standoff. I will explain. And your money is good here as far as the NFL is concerned. Doesn't matter who wants to advertise. They're going to take your money. Got to pay them bills. We're back with more of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Oh, Ice Cube, calm down. Ice Cube says the NBA and ESPN are trying to destroy his league. If you don't know what league that is, by the way, it's okay. It's that 3-on-3 league. Hey, Belmer, have you ever watched the 3-on-3 league? Until you saw who was playing in it. You know what? Let me tell you something, Ice Cube. The NBA and ESPN didn't destroy your league. What destroyed your league is old-timers who you have playing in a 3-on-3 league. That you're trying to play in major arenas And you're hoping to get like huge TV run, which gets into this live golf thing that I'm actually going to talk about, believe it or not. But I mean, there's too many things competing. My God, there are so many entertainment options these days, whether it's watching TV, whether it's, and he does this thing in the summer and stuff like that. Who's going to go and there's so many things to do in the summer. Hey, honey, let's go sit indoors and watch a bunch of former NBA has-beens, get on the court and suit up for a 3-on-3 game where no defense is played and guys are just chucking up shots. I could go to I could go to the local YMCA here in Palm Springs on a Friday night and go watch this stuff. Your league's not failing because they're out to destroy your league. The league's failing because it was kitschy and it was fun and it was a nice little gimmick for a couple of years. You should have taken your money and run. Everything's got an expiration date. Yours was just a little sooner. God. I'm not going to say golly gee again because Belmer's making fun of me for sounding all old-timey on the show tonight. I'm not going to say for the love of Pete either. Not good. I'm not going to say good golly Miss Molly either. Yeah, you know how unpredictable sports is, though? I'm still thinking about this Jazz win over the Nuggets by like 20 tonight. And, I'm happy for folks in Salt Lake City because outside of the Jazz, there's really not a lot to do in Salt Lake City other than ski. So, I'm happy for folks in Salt Lake City that they got a win tonight. But my goodness. Yeah. So anyway, congratulations to the Jazz on their win tonight. Phoenix, wow. How about the Suns? They trailed all night. 1:38 to go fourth quarter. They now lead the Mavericks 105-100. They were down 20 in that game. It's so true. The NBA, no lead is safe. It's really not. And then the Blazers now lead the Kings 111-106 with 22 seconds to go. Same old Kings. They're going to lose again. Wow. So let me get back to what I was saying because I brought up the NBA 3-on-3, not the NBA, but that 3-on-3 league that Ice Cube started. What was the name of that league? You remember? I can't remember. The Ice Cube League. The Big Three. Thank you. I was thinking about that with regard to the Live Golf standoff that's going on right now with Live Golf, PGA Tour. Both sides can't stand each other. And Rory McIlroy and Jon Rahm took Phil Mickelson to task because Mickelson is saying, we're trending up. PGA Tour is trending down. The future is Live Golf. And basically, Rory McIlroy said everything except you're delusional, Phil, which is, I think, what he would have preferred to say, but was probably trying to be somewhat respectful of Phil Mickelson at this stage of his career where, he's playing average professional golf at best against a bunch of guys who don't have to worry about making a cut and are getting paid regardless. McIlroy said, I don't agree with what Phil said last week. I understand why he said it because he's in the position he's in, but I don't think anyone that takes a logical view of the game of golf can agree with what he said. I guess for them to be talking the way they are, it's bold, said McIlroy. I think there's a ton of propaganda being used and all sorts of stuff. I certainly don't see the PGA Tour trending downward at all. All the talent, 95% of the talent is here. You've got people like Tom Kim coming through, who is the future of our game. And then Jon Rahm piled on to what Rory said. Here's what I'm going to say. And I think this is a pretty universally held opinion. Everybody loses in this. Nobody's trending up. Nobody's trending down. You're getting the initial bump that you always get from something new, which is what Live Golf is doing. But at the end of the day, the large majority of guys are still choosing to stay, even with all this money being thrown at them. You had Phil Mickelson and Greg Norman and all these guys that defected to Live Golf. And everybody thought it was going to be this flood of defections. Well, there's only one player in the top 20 of the world golf rankings that's left for Live Golf. One. And there's a few more when you start talking about the top 50 and the top 100 and top 250 and all that stuff. But this is still a paltry amount compared to the firepower the PGA Tour has. And nobody wins in this. Nobody. You're diluting an already diluted product. You're diluting something that doesn't have a huge base of viewers to begin with. Now they've got to choose between watching, because they're not going to watch both. Think about how much time it takes to watch a round of golf on television. Now you have two leagues competing with each other. You think people are going to watch both? No. They're going to split a little time between both, and the ratings are going to suffer on both sides. And again, once the Saudis lose interest in this, they can ditch it at any time. And all these guys that have abandoned the PGA Tour and find themselves on the outside, they're all going to be pariahs when they try to return. Nobody wins. PGA Tour will still be standing regardless. I can't say the same as far as Live Golf is concerned. And I know there's supposedly a TV deal that's going to happen and all this. I'll believe it all when I see it. If you've got tons of money, it's too bad I don't have tons of money, because I would love to put an ad on the Super Bowl for the cash in. I mean, that'd be pretty cool, right? According to reports, a $1 billion Christian foundation called Signatory is spending a fortune promoting Jesus on the Super Bowl next Friday. Signatory will be running 30 and 60-second commercials hyping Jesus, rebranding him, and promoting him. Many viewers may be dismayed by being hit over the head by ads for something they either have no interest in or might even be offended by. But apparently religion in professional sports, hey, go for it. I mean, Tim Tebow used to kneel. You see athletes doing the sign of the cross and looking up to the heavens all the time. So, somebody wants to spend money. Look, I'll tell you right now, if Mike Lindell is listening, you know who Mike Lindell is, John? Mr. Belmer? My Pillow guy. Let me tell you. You can go and look up Mike Lindell if you want to know who he is. And if you don't know who he is, you've been sleeping in or under a rock for the last few years. Let's just say he has some opinions that are out there. If Mike Lindell of My Pillow is looking for somewhere to advertise and he wants to throw a bunch of money and advertise on the cash in, I got news for you, Belmer. I'd take his money. Is it green? Does the check clear? I am all in. Go ahead. Send me the check. Mike Lindell wants to advertise on this show. I will take his money. Absolutely. Build those new studios even faster. Go for it. Send us your cash, Mike Lindell. You want to advertise on this show, knock yourself out. Chick-fil-A, Hobby Lobby. You all want to advertise on this show? I don't care what your beliefs are. Your money is green. I'll take it. And the NFL basically feels the same way. This Christian foundation headquartered in Kansas announced a $100 media, it's got to be a $100 million media campaign to promote Jesus. The campaign is called He Gets Me. There you go. NFL will take your money, so will I. Cash is green. It'll allow me to pay John Belmer's exorbitant salary. Russell Baxter, ProFootballGuru.com on the NFL is next. Just in time to save me from losing my job next. Are you even salary or are you hourly? Oh, okay. That's cool. Nah, listen, I get it. You don't have to tell me. I could pretty much figure it out. Dude, there was a time where I would have never taken money from somebody like Mike Lindell, but I was thinking about it the other day, or I was reading this story, and I'm like, shit, man. Somebody wants to write me a check for, $250,000. Hell, I'll name it the MyPillow.com Studios. Shit. Absolutely. Call us on the MyPillow hotline, the MyPillow Roadshow, the MyPillow picks on Fridays. Oh, my friends would disown me. Oh, my friends would absolutely disown me. Yeah, I would, but that's okay. I'd be cashing checks, fat stacks. Oh, God. Absolutely. Like Shane McMahon's come out song used to be, money, 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 money. Absolutely. Because one of my and we do continue. And we do continue on this Wednesday edition of the show. Of course, you can always be a part of the program. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at the show as well. At the back page. Again, hit me up on Twitter. At the back page. We'll get back to what's going on in all these NBA games and the baseball as well. But first, we say hello to our good friend Russell Baxter. Talk some football with him at BAX Football Guru. If you're looking for him on Twitter, does a terrific job covering the NFL and has for a very long time. ProFootballGuru.com as well. Russell, what is at stake for the NFL? And I ask this way for a reason. What is at stake for the NFL with the return of Tua Tagovailoa? And how dangerous is it for the league if he has another hit and we see another situation like this that we saw obviously with him a few weeks ago where he was at? Where are you when it comes to him getting back on the field?
Well, I mean, the NFL and the NFLPA, kind of tapped heads and revised their policy in terms, and we're seeing, if you've noticed the last couple of weeks, we're seeing, for lack of a better word, a quick whistle when it comes to some of these hits and how these players are getting up and walking off the field, and so the NFL has been a little proactive. Of course, it took something like what we saw on Thursday night combined with what happened the previous week in Miami when they were playing the Bills. There was a firing of a position and so on. So the NFL has always been, I'm not saying they do everything right necessarily, but eventually they try to get it right. But sometimes it takes something like we saw with Tagovailoa for it to happen. We've seen it in the past with big hits and fines and so on. The NFL almost reacts to the publicity and the fans and the media, almost within like a 24-hour period. If there's such an outrage, Jason, on what people see, immediately they kind of gather their forces and address it. Unfortunately, it took something like this, and that hit where he got his head slammed to the ground in the Bengals game and so on. And again, you combine with what happened earlier, and it was interesting because, and I didn't even really think of this, but when Tua got up after the Buffalo hit and looked a little shaky, and then later complained it was his back and so on, obviously everybody was a little skeptical because what we saw. But I was reminded by someone that a couple of years earlier in a playoff game, Patrick Mahomes got kind of wobbly in the game in the playoff game against the Browns.
I remember it.
Left the game, and we found out he did not have a concussion. So, you know how it is. Social media, there's, when something like this happened, there's a couple million doctors who chime in and so on. And sometimes I think we have to be careful. As it turned out in the case of Tua, it just turned out to be unfortunate and so on. And hopefully this is a step forward. I mean, listen, for years, unfortunately, the NFL had a problem with this and wound up having to address it in a major way.
I just think it was interesting that, the independent, neurologist or whatever, that guy gets fired. They announce some changes, make some changes in the protocol, and it feels like the story's over. And to me, it feels like there had to be some more culpability somewhere in the midst of this, where the team doctor is ultimately the one responsible for making the decision whether he goes back on the field. To me, it just feels like, the outrage subsided. Tua's alive, thankfully. Right. And it feels like the story just sort of ended there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But as you know, as time will go on, this will probably be revisited as far as what the details, exactly everything that happened and so on. But it's, if you think about it, it's almost as if, I'm trying to word this the correct way. For years and years and years, and this is not just with concussions, but with injuries as well. NFL players, have ignored what's happening to their bodies. And, we've seen the effects of that down the road. And that, again, that's not just with concussions. That's with playing with a broken leg, a torn bicep. They want to be out on the field. It's important for them to be out on the field. And I think sometimes sometimes they do that at their own expense. So it's almost like, let's kind of get this over with and move on so we don't miss our football game, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely makes sense. Russell Baxter at BAX Football Guru, ProFootballGuru.com, does a great job on the NFL. We know that Lamar Jackson bet on himself, coming into this season. Couldn't get on the same page with the Ravens on a long-term contract. Mm-hmm. Is he winning that bet so far or losing that bet? In my mind, he's losing it.
Well, I don't know if he's winning or losing because I'm looking at them as a 3-3 football team. And listen, last week, his play late in the fourth quarter had a lot to do with the Giants coming back. But I also look at his play when they're up big against Miami in week 2 and the Dolphins come storming back. There's got to be a little blame put on the Baltimore defense, which has had a heck of a lot of problems protecting leads this year. We saw Buffalo come back from a 20-3 deficit. And again, Lamar Jackson, that plays into that as well. You remember he was hurt down the stretch last year, didn't play. Their pass defense was the worst in the league because of all their injuries. It's not that much better this year. So I don't know if it's necessarily he's winning or losing. He's kind of right smack in the middle, which is kind of indicative of a 3-3 football team.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I would say somewhere probably in the middle, but the last few weeks, some of the decision making and
right.
throws some of the decision making has just been suspect for a guy who's asking for what he's asking for.
Well, I think with the way their defense has performed this year and the way it performed down the stretch last year, I agree with you. I think he's trying to do too much to make up for. I mean, listen, when you're up like they were against Miami and you wind up blowing that lead at home and losing 42-38, that's, and then it happens 2 weeks later when you're up 17 points on arguably the best team in the league and can't close the door. So there's a lot of blame to go around. I mean, listen, the AFC North has been a highly competitive division. It's one, I believe, of 3 divisions in the league right now that doesn't have a team with a winning record. There's no winning record in the NFC South. There's no winning record in the NFC West. And there's certainly no winning record in the AFC North. It's kind of odd year as far as the start and so on. Offenses in general are down, Jason. And I don't want to necessarily say defenses are excelling. We're 6 weeks into the season, and with honestly a few exceptions, there hasn't been great team play. A few exceptions. There's been some outstanding performances individually, but it's almost like the whole league isn't quite in sync yet, except for that team in Philadelphia that's pretty damn good on the offensive and defensive line.
Just mediocre. Listen, it's just a mediocre league this year. I mean, it's been a tough watch. It's been a tough watch to watch NFL football, Jason, this year.
You have there are 16 teams in each conference. You have 4 teams with winning records in the NFC. That's it. And 3 of them are in the NFC.
It's amazing. It really is. Talking with Russell Baxter here on the Cash In SportsMap Radio. Is Denver fixable?
Whew. I was looking at, it's just funny looking at some of their numbers this year. And it's amazing when you think that they have given up 6 offensive touchdowns in 6 games and can't get out of their own way. And it's funny because they're in the division. You have to listen to this for a second. It's almost mind-boggling. Okay, the Chiefs are 25th in points allowed. That's points per game allowed, Jason. Mm-hmm. The Chargers are 26th. The Raiders are 28th. All in the same division. The Broncos are 4th in the league and have lost 4 of the first 6 games. I mean, it's shit. It's just wild to watch them, especially in the red zone. Which it's almost embarrassing. Maybe it's the red zone because he has to be embarrassed. They can't get their own way. I mean, settling for field goal after field goal or turnover or return. Now the other night they wound up losing the game on a muff punt, which set up the Chargers. But who would have thought this? With Russell Wilson. I mean, I don't think there's any question about it. The TV networks, chime in as far as the schedule and so on and what they want, and they don't always get what they want. The 6 weeks into the season, the Broncos have been on Monday Night Football twice, Thursday Night Football once, and Sunday Night Football once. And I don't think it's because of the new ownership. I think it was because of Russell Wilson. And, right now, he and the offense just can't seem to get their act together. And they had a game where they scored 23 points against the Raiders and gave up 32. So it epitomizes the odd start to the season. And who knows what that's going to be next offseason? Are we going to see teams playing guys during the preseason again? Because we seem to have gotten away from that. And I guess it was all well and good when COVID was going on because you really had no choice. There was no preseason games at all. And it's almost as if, well, that's kind of the norm now. But, I look at Matt Ryan struggling. I look at Russell Wilson, guys who are veteran guys going to new teams, and no one has really, kind of jumped out or anything like that. It's just really wild to watch some of the, and it's not limited to quarterbacks either, Jason. You look at, Devontae Adams hasn't really made the big time splash. I mean, he had the big Monday night game against the Chiefs, but you look at some of these guys who moved on and trades and different things and in a new environment, and maybe they didn't see enough action during the summer with their new teams and so on. So I think that's added to the choppiness of the league.
Who's looked good, and I got to go, but who's looked good with a new team this year, and nobody ever would have thought that Atlanta would be 3-3, and they could be damn well 4-2 if they didn't get screwed by the officials on that roughing the passer call. Mariota's played pretty well for them.
I'll tell you what, Les, a lot was made about Pittsburgh upsetting Tampa Bay. I thought Atlanta beating San Francisco was their start line. Yeah. And I know the Niners are banged up on the defensive line, but they went out, and if you watch that game, they were the more physical team against San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And it's something, and by the way, you said didn't get screwed by the officials. What if they hadn't blown the big lead against the Saints?
Yeah.
In week 1 as well. So they, to me, are his biggest surprise. I mean, the Giants, I think, have really kind of shocked everyone. They've already won more games than they did last year. And by the way, have beaten the Ravens, have beaten the Packers, have beaten the Titans. So you think about
crazy.
Who were the top two teams in the conferences last year? Tennessee and Green Bay.
Yeah,
I know it's a different year and all that, but the Giants, and why are they doing it? They got some help on the offensive and defensive line.
Yeah.
Listen, we're all guilty of it. Love talking quarterbacks. But the reason the Eagles won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago was because of their offensive and defensive lines. And that's probably why they're excelling there right now. They're as good in the trenches as any team in the league, and I'm talking about both sides of the ball.
It's true. Russell Baxter, ProFootballGuru.com. Find him on Twitter at BAXFootballGuru. Thank you, my friend.
Talk to you soon.
We'll wrap up the hour next. And we do continue on the Yeah, I'm all right with it. And texting you a live shot right now of my dog. Mm-hmm. Check your phone. That's the look I'm getting right now. Check now. It should be there. That's a pissed off pooch. Hey, no bitches for me. Come on. He's 11. He's so mad right now, though. He's so angry. He's like, you're making me sit here. Now you're taking pictures of me, too. You're never going to let that go, are you? I used to work with Glenn Beck before he became the crazy megalomaniac he is now, and he used to always say, "For the love of Pete." Getting set to put the wraps on this Wednesday edition of the show. Don't forget, Thursday night football tomorrow. We'll have live betting in the second half of the game to talk about. Oh, man. What a wild night in the NBA. We were just talking about Ben Simmons tonight. Fouled out. I think he had 4 points and 5 rebounds. Looked terrible. I'm telling you, the Nets are going to be the season-long drama that everybody's going to just want to enjoy watching. Because I don't care. They could say all the stuff they want before the games start. But once you're on the court and you start realizing that this thing's just not going to work, and you've got a bunch of guys that you can't move because of how much money they're making, and you're all stuck with each other on this island. I mean, that's what the NBA season is. You're going to have a bunch of huge, highly paid stars all stuck together. It's going to be great. We'll see you for a Thursday night edition of The Cash In. Good job, Belmer. I'm Jason Page, SportsMap Radio. Bye! Condo. Yeah, we rent a condo. I'm shocked. Well, it's only 9:59 out here. But I have not had a single complaint yet. And trust me, I'm loud. Like, I'm a loud talker to begin with. So I'm surprised I haven't had any complaints. But I now have 2 different places I'm looking at for our studios. One is a lot cheaper than the other, and I might have to take the cheaper option. All right, that's going to do it for the video stream as well. For anybody who checked it out tonight, thank you. Appreciate it. We're with you Monday through Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern. Monday Night Football tomorrow. We'll have that to talk about, the Yankees and the Astros. We'll recap that as well, although it'll probably end while we're still on the air, but I'm sure we'll talk about that as well during the show. Don't forget, if you have not signed up for Jock Market, go and do it. JockMKT.com or the Jock MKT app. Use the promo code CASHIN on your first deposit, a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. And if you go on Twitter, take a screenshot of that first deposit using the promo code CASHIN, CASHIN, all one word, use my promo code, take a screenshot, go on Twitter, direct message it to me. My DMs are open. Send it to me on Twitter at the back page. You do that, you're entered to win $100. We're going to be drawing the winner on Halloween night here on the show. But you got to make your first deposit using that promo code Cash In. Send me the screenshot. You do that, you're entered to win $100. We'll give it away on Halloween night. I'll catch you all back here on Thursday night. I got a dog that's dying to go out. Should I give him the doggy cam? Hold on, we'll do the doggy cam. There's Dookie. And he is not happy right now. You ready to go out? That a yes? You ready to go out? Want Daddy to take you out? That looks like a yes to me. All right, I'm going to take him out. Everybody have a great night.